Hi, I'm Lee Swanson, President of Swanson Health Products. I'm here today with a good friend of mine, Lyle Hurd. Lyle is a publisher and editor of Total Health magazine, what I consider to be the finest natural health magazine in the country. Lyle, you have an interesting concept called age management, not anti-aging, but age management. Can you please explain to our listeners and our viewers today what age management is?
Well, first of all, there's no such thing as anti-aging. Someone wrote and said the day we're born is the day we begin to die. And that's literally probably pretty true. Age management really stands for the fact that we can do a multitude of things that will help us have healthy and extended longevity. One of the problems today, which seems like a blessing, is the fact that now we're at 80 years as an average lifespan. Probably for a lot of people who don't die of accidents and disease earlier, it's maybe 85 or 90 years. The prospect of being locked into a body or brain that doesn't work for the last 20 years of that period of time is terrible. And it really literally begins prior to conception. And so we would really call it age management, which is controlled in the beginning by the people who parent you. And then by the time you're out of high school or into college, you're hopefully have learned enough. And then the course that you choose is your path through your life.
Talking about your history in the natural health field, you used to write for Sports Illustrated magazine and Playboy.
Well, actually, I was in marketing for both Sports Illustrated and Playboy, although I kind of consulted with the promotion, merchandising departments, and interpreting research. At one point in time, we had a magazine rep firm where we did consult with lots of publishers and also represented them in their area relative to advertising.
And that was how you first became interested in taking supplements and vitamins. You were leading not a fast lifestyle, but certainly a lifestyle of parties and that type of thing. And you started taking supplements, and you found that that benefited your health.
Absolutely. It really all came about because of the fact, and I guess I don't feel embarrassed to say this, I mean, I was involved for 50 years in a business where you did a tremendous amount of entertaining, and where people that were in your market were scattered, and you'd have functions at your home, or you'd go, in New York, I can remember driving 60 miles to a dinner party where everyone had 3 or 4 cocktails, and we all drove home and never thought much about it. And someone once told me that vitamin B, I'm not sure whether it was 1, 12, whatever, 6, was very healthy for, or helped people not really suffer the effects of alcohol the way they did. You know, and at that point in time, no one gave much consideration to alcohol consumption or to smoking. So I went to a pharmacy and I asked a pharmacist about vitamin B, and he said, well, yes, there is some evidence of that. And I said, well, can I buy a bottle of 1,000 capsules? And he looked at me and he said, don't you think that's admitting something to yourself? And I said, no. I said, I want to give these to people that come to my house, and before they leave, if there's any alcohol being served. So basically that led me to beginning to investigate what really was going on with vitamins and minerals. And I'll tell you where it was at that point, because we went from there to a situation where we became involved in starting a direct marketing vitamin company for some folks. We worked for the Inquirer, as one of the magazines that I consulted with. That's right. I had worked for Playboy and Sports Illustrated, and then we went into our own business and were independent reps and consultants. And so they wanted to do something in the Inquirer, and I said, well, you know, you get eaten alive by the other people in the Inquirer, but what you really need to do is look to affinity groups. You know, in an affinity group, I guess that's what I would call the people that you have. They have an affinity for your products, they understand what you're doing, there's a credibility.
Natural health and wellness.
That's right. And so I asked the 2 people that were the people that owned the vitamin company, I said, now, do vitamins really work? And they said, well, if you believe it, that's 90% of the whole situation. Well, as you and I both know now, there's empirical evidence that if people read it carefully and understood where they were in life, would mandate the use of supplements. So when we talk about age management literally begins prior to conception. Now, what does that mean? That means that a woman and a man, but primarily a woman, needs to understand or knows that she wants to have children and have a family. And at the point that that becomes important, she really needs to understand that there are also some things that she needs to do. The essential fatty acids, DHA and EFAs, are an imperative, not only to all the things that are going on in our lives all the time, but to someone who is trying to build enough of that in their system, because our body can't replace those, enough of that in their system, that they would be able to sustain the growth of a fetus in their womb. And consequently, whether it's that which becomes imperative to the nerve system, to the brain, and to the heart, which are, you know, three major organ systems in our body, whether it's that or whether they need to understand that they shouldn't be smoking or drinking, they should be taking folic acid, which they should be anyhow. They should be taking a good multiple vitamins so that they're potentiating that system that's going to have that child survive in. And keep in mind that that system is entirely different than it used to be. It used to be when we lived in a society that's a little different than the one we live in now, that you had a pretty pure environment that you lived in. Today, there was a survey done, I think about a year and a half ago that you're familiar with, that took the umbilical cord of newborn babies and investigated the contents and found an average of 287 chemical substances in the blood of the umbilical cord.
That's amazing.
60 to 70 of which were potentially carcinogenic. So what we're doing is we are now sharing with that fetus and with that newborn the pollution of the environment that we're living in. And consequently, right from the beginning, we're giving them some handicaps. So that means that the mother needs to then, at that point, hopefully have enough nutrition in her system if she's feeding her own child that will be able to help counteract some of this and give that child the best opportunity. And you know, right from the very beginning, it has a little bit to do with the attitude of the baby too. I mean, the whole idea of the essential fatty acids, the DHA, EFA, is probably one of the most important, at least I believe, things that we've realized in the last 20 years. The mother also needs to make sure, if she is giving a formula to the child, that that's included in the formula. Now, 4 or 5 years ago, it really wouldn't have been, but I think enough of us have been making people aware of it that I think it's pretty common now that it's in the formula.